Line number 3. Maurice, you're on the air.
And good morning to you, Paddy.
Good morning to you, sir.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
You have a bad throat.
Yeah, I was pretty sick, but I gotta say, knocked me right off my feet, but I'm feeling a bit better today. Thanks.
Oh, way, a big fellow like you, a little flu shouldn't take you down like that.
I'm like most big, tough guys, man. Pure suck when I get a cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just wanted to talk about the budget, and of course, apparently, this province is in a terrible financial condition. And I don't know that they're trying to solve it with regards to laying off a few public servants and kind of increasing a few dues and fees and that type of thing. But, Patty, there are a few big items that's really dragging us down, okay? And of course, one of them is Muskrat Falls. And I'll just give you an incident. You take, 8 or 9 months ago, they were talking about they were desperate to put a dome over that facility down there so they could do the work in the winter, okay? And I think it was at that time, it was probably $7 billion, and they wanted another 800 or 900 million to construct the dome. They never got it finished. They never got it because they hired a Quebec company, and of course something happened. They had to kick them off site down there, and now that company is there's a lawsuit there for $13 million. But in addition to that, do you know they're down there now taking down all of that steel that they erected for the dome, that new steel, and sending it off in truckloads for scrap.
So how does that affect the budget today? Because I know there's been some very serious issues with Muskrat Falls development. Delays are upon us. There's overruns have already been suffered. We don't even know the final tally on the overrun. The money's been already out the door from the provincial government through Nalcor at Muskrat Falls. How does, for instance, people talk about stopping it today. How does stopping it today save us any money? And I mean, I don't know all the exact numbers, neither do you or anybody else. So let's just say we've got, what, $2.5 billion cash already out the door? Something like that. I mean, that's not too far from. Is that a number we can agree on?
But
thereabouts?
I don't know. Like I'm like I don't know all of the details. All I know is that this dome was supposed to cost us $800 million, and it was a wonderful thing because, of course, in the Labrador climate down there, and the snow and the cold weather, that this was going to be the saver of that project. And here they are shipping off that steel for scrap, and that seems there's somebody of boo-boo there. But getting back to your point, how it's affecting the budget,
right.
But we're giving Nalcor $500 million, $600 million, $700 million this year out of the budget that's earmarked strictly for Nalcor.
Yep.
Here's your money out of our budget. Well, if you take out $700 million this year for Nalcor, it means that you don't have any money probably for the civil servants that you're going to lay off or cut back in the hospital services and that type of thing. The other thing, because I've only got a few minutes here, the other thing that's really dragging us down, now I know that's part of the budget for the $700 million, is the oil and gas sector of Nalcor.
Oh my God. Okay.
Well, we went into that
yeah.
with 4.5%. Okay, that's we were going to have.
You're talking about the Hebron investment.
The Hebron investment. That's
yeah.
right. The Hebron. We went in for 4.5%, which of course was going to cost us $250 million, which was a fair size chunk of money. But up to now. And, of course, the cost of that project is continuously escalating and continuously going up. We're into that for $1 billion. Now, Patty, that's what we're into that project for, with the cost increases. Now, what's going on, nobody really knows if they're just jacking up the prices and sending the bill to Newfoundland saying your 4.5% is gone up to $1 billion. But that's one thing, is the $1 billion. But we're paying $340 million a year on the interest into that investment, not just the principal, the money that we're putting into the project, but is the darn interest that's costing us a fortune.
What? The interest on what?
The interest on the money that we're putting into Hebron.
What?
I mean, we got to borrow that money.
We put some of it up front, cash on the barrel, had some of it right at the beginning.
Yeah,
no interest on that.
But, no, there's no interest. There's 6 of one and half a dozen the other. There might be any interest on that.
Now, the investment, but just 1 second, the investment in oil and gas, that sector of the business, if there's anything that's going to have the hope of returning any money to us, it's going to be that. Now, there's a debate, and a legitimate one to be had, about whether or not an equity position, this 4.9% we have in Hebron, whether or not that is to our benefit as opposed to a royalty and super royalty regime, which many people still say would be best. It all depends on the price of a barrel of oil based on the math I've seen. If we don't have $90 to $100 barrel of oil, then it doesn't look like our equity position is going to be very wise. But investment in oil and gas, as much as we have people talking about throwing around diversification, blah, 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 which is important, even though they have nothing to back it up, pretending that we're getting away from the oil and gas business is ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a Crown Corporation that's involved with negotiating the contracts, whether it be in equity or royalty positions. We cannot be out of the oil and gas business. We can't, and we shouldn't.
No, and neither should we with the amount of oil and gas that we have offshore. But what I'm saying here is, can we afford? We're going to get the royalty on that product. We're going to get the royalty regardless. But can we afford to be in there as a player? It might be great. It might theoretically, it might be wonderful. But can this province afford to be in as a player? And if we get back.
Once again, Maurice, you're talking about historical sidesteps or mistakes. Nothing that's going to affect the budget next year. Nothing. Not one thing that you said so far is going to affect the budget next year. Like, at some point, the government is already going to be out of pocket every single dime that it goes to Muskrat Falls. The rest of it is going to be, unfortunately, the entirety is going to be bared by the ratepayers. Now, whether or not any bit of power sold in Nova Scotia or anywhere else comes back to less of my bill remains to be seen. Liberals say they will. Tories haven't ruled it out. I don't know where the NDP stand, to be honest with you, off the top of my head. So we're almost all out of pocket already on Muskrat. Oil and gas investment, we're never walking away from that. 33% of the province's economy relies on oil and gas. We're going to drill it until it's all gone. People can like it or lump it, climate change or not, that's what's going to happen. So what are we doing to save money? HST hike, cutting jobs out of the public service, hopefully regionalising services, hopefully closing down some smaller communities because we can't afford to appropriately service those people. So other than that, like, where are your big solutions? How about not building a new hospital? How about not building a new pen? How about not building a new courthouse?
These are the various items that you just listed. To me, to save money there is almost like peanuts, okay? You're talking about $100,000 here. Well, it might have to be done. But what I'm saying to you, these big items that's costing us millions and not millions, but billions of dollars, and not only, I mean, you take with regards to Muskrat Falls, sure, the federal government is going to guarantee, or has guaranteed the $5 billion, but we're on the hook for the interest. Okay, Patty, but we are. We have to pay the interest on that money, and forever. And that's what's dragging us. That's what's going to these hundreds of millions of dollars that we are going to have to pay out in terms for the interest on the money that we're borrowing. And there's $2 billion now we're going to borrow this year for the budget that we have to pay the interest on.
So your solution is get out of the oil and gas business and shut down Muskrat Falls.
We have to be very, very careful. If there's mistakes, I'm not telling you to get out of the oil. We got to be there, but we might be able to negotiate a better royalty deal rather than investing this money that we don't have. You know, if I can't afford something in my household here, if I can't afford it, I got to get rid of it. And that's the same thing with the oil and gas. If we're in there for $1 billion plus the interest on that money, on the principal, for the sake of the knowledge that we're going to gain from the oil and gas business point, that's a pretty expensive way to learn something. It's a
reasonable request to understand where we are in the oil and gas business, and I'll just leave it at this, Maurice, because I know some of the more notable names who are opposed to Muskrat Falls in total, they take my name in vain all the time, which is interesting, and also on like their Facebook pages and all that stuff, which I don't care about. Fill your boots, right? Whatever makes you happy. But they say, you know, a conversation on this show goes something like me asking, so you want to get out of Muskrat Falls? Do you know what you're asking for? Do you know how much it will cost? Well, unlike some people who pretend they got it all figured out, I'm happy to ask the questions, the reality that's associated with the answers. What does it cost? How much money's gone out the door now? What does it cost to shut the project down now? What does it cost to get out of the contracts? What are the overruns that should be anticipated at this point? Like, I want some answers, dollars and cents. Not pretending that I know it's going to be $12 billion and $20 billion. Not pretending that I know what all the end result answers will be. I think it's high time that Nalcor and the government have a legitimate review of how much it does cost today to finish Muskrat Falls. And what happens if we don't proceed right now? What happens if we think we can do it in 5 years from now? All of those questions should be revisited. And that's where I think is the prudent approach. Not people telling me they got it all figured out, even though they have no friggin' idea any more than I do. So I ask questions, and apparently I'm complicit in digging a hole on the Churchill River. So I think it's time for a look. And I've been saying that for quite a long time. And it doesn't mean you have to shut it down more. So I'll let you wrap it up quick, but then I got to go.
One last point. The point that I was making to you is somebody made a terrible mistake on the dome to cost this province $800 million. That's what it cost with the work that went into it and the steel and everything else. And now somebody scrapped it and selling. Somebody decided to terminate that project and sell off that steel for scrap steel, a new steel that's down there. Maybe they might need it for next winter.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's even what's going on, though, to be honest with you.
It's terrible for that. If that is the case, and I know it's the case, it's going out in trouble.
How do you know, Maurice?
Hey?
How do you know?
Oh, you got me sources, boy.
Oh, yeah, I got me sources.
You got your sources. You're there as a news reporter. You got your sources, haven't you?
I appreciate the call, Maurice.
I mean, well, we're always bitching and grumbling about something, but you got to have your sources to be able to talk reasonable. I wouldn't talk to you unless I knew something about it. Talk to you later.
I appreciate your time, sir.
See you.
All the best. Bye-bye.